Welcome to the first workshop, which is going to be on CV and cover letter. It will be me, Nupur. I'm from India to begin with. I have been in Sweden for about 6 years now, and I work in Volvo Cars as a recruiter. So that's where I've worked in different companies in Sweden. So I take my experience from a lot of different places. And please present yourselves.
Yeah, my name is Diana, and I've actually been part of Perform on Top a year ago. So I have been basically a trainee, and I was trained to write CV, to interviews in Swedish and English, and a year later, I became sort of like a mentor, I guess you can say.
Yes.
I found a job, so if someone is thinking, well, I'm never gonna find a job, it's my thoughts a year ago, and I've been looking for a job for a long time, and I also have worked in Sweden in different spheres. So I started as an internship in my field in international development. Then I had a patch of when I was working as a waitress part-time. Then I was working as a personal assistant, and finally I found a job in my sphere, and now I work in an NGO company or organization dealing with the environment in Sweden. And yeah, that's it about me. I think I have a lot of experience about when it comes to cover letters. I have written cover letters for international projects, for educational purposes, for work purposes, and I also helped people write their cover letters. So Nupur will cover the CV, and I will cover the cover letter in the second part of the workshop.
So also a very exciting thing to say, this whole workshop and the continuing workshops are actually sponsored, or should I say funded is a better word, by a solidarity project, which is founded by the European Union. So thanks to them, we have this set up and we can arrange this. So yeah, I will go on and tell you more about Perform on Top. So how many of you had heard about Perform on Top before? Did you find it? Some of you are raising your hands. That's good. And did you find it because of this workshop that we posted about? Yeah, good. So Perform on Top, we started in 2017 in a very small area in someone's apartment, and the only aim was for us to get together. All of us are from different backgrounds in this organization. We all went through our struggles to finding a job here. We had our ups and downs, and so we got together and thought, what can we do to help? Because it is not the easiest job to get into the job market in Sweden. So that's why we started Perform on Top. And what we do today is career coaching, professional networking. We help you, build your network, counseling in different formats. We also do help with personal branding and, informational support. So whatever support you need, how to find, where to find, etc. So we help with that. Yes, and this is the Perform on Top founders. So this is the team, just us in the beginning, but now we are obviously a lot more of people. So I would like to, the people who are here from the founders present themselves quickly, if possible.
I was not ready for that.
Sorry.
You can see that probably you recognize who I am. My name is Kristina. I'm in Sweden for 4 years. I'm working in Swedish as state employee for more over 3 years. I will be covering one workshop as well, because we will have 4 workshops. So I will cover the culture, Swedish integration kind of part. So feel free to ask me anything if you want during the workshop.
Yes?
Yes, and I'm Pritama. I work in marketing. I have been in Sweden for 4 years. And I cover the personal branding aspect of things. So if you have no clue what this is, just ask me.
Yes.
She's expert on LinkedIn.
Yes.
So.
And I also want Sinisha to present himself.
Yes, hello everyone, my name is Sinisha. I'm volunteer at Perform on Top. I was part of the cohort, the first cohort from Perform on Top. And I managed to find a job in Sweden through the tips and tricks that I learned here.
Thank you. And he's been helping out in all different events and volunteering, so it's really nice. We have a very strong community of people helping us, so I will really want to thank them as well. Good, then we start our CV workshop to begin with. Okay, so I would like to begin the session with asking why you all are here, and I will make my way to the white or green board. And I want to know, what are your expectations? What do you hope to learn out of this? You want to learn how to get into it. Yeah? Yeah? Perfect. Then we have a lot of expectations, and I hope I can answer all the questions coming. But if we start talking about why a CV is important, it's universal, this answer. It is a way for you to show the employer why you're correct for that position, for that company. But also it will, the way, a good CV, it will help you stand out from the crowd, obviously. It will capture the attention of the recruiter and get an interview. And it will help you show relevant skills and experience required to get that job. But coming to the second point, to capture the attention of the recruiter is actually the hardest part, right? Do you agree? Yeah. And coming from a recruiter, I understand why. And I will give you that today. I will try to, from my perspective. As I said, CV is a way to tell the employer why the opportunity is for you, but that does not mean that you have to make exactly the same type of CVs as to someone who has gotten a job, because it's not their CV. It's not a one-size-fits-all. And when you try to do that, you lose the personality in the CV. You need to make sure your CV has personality, and that's your personality. So it's not one-size-fits-all at all. Okay? One very good point there is that why a lot of people cannot capture the attention of the recruiter is because the CVs are too long. Generally, CVs are either too long because you have a lot of experience, or you're trying to sell yourself too hard, right? You're trying to say, you know what, I know everything that you've written in your job description, and I'm even overqualified for this job, but I'm applying for it. So that is really important, what you said, very important, that CVs need to be clear and concise. So, what are the building blocks of a CV, in my opinion, as a recruiter? What do I look for? I look for a profile. What is a profile? It's sort of, you can call it, oh my god, I knew this will. It's sort of, you can call it a summary, a very short summary of who you are in terms of, field. Say I'm a teacher in psychology at this and this university. What you want from the CV? What do you, for example, you're applying for a job in an international school. You're not worked in an international school before. What do? You tell that for me, this job is important because I want to teach international students or students from different backgrounds. You tell your purpose of why you're applying for this job in that little profile. Yes, just a second. I know you'll have an opportunity to write a cover letter. So you might ask, why should we write it in the CV? It's, in my opinion, I look for someone who has a clear motive. What is it that why are you applying for this job in the first place? And in a small profile, we will get to the examples of a profile, but in a small profile, you make sure that your motive is clear with that CV, and then it also makes you stand out, because I have seen so many CVs with just 10 pages of just this tools, that tools. Yes, I want to see your experience, but I also want to see what type of person are you. And will that little profile lead me to opening the cover letter? Right? Because I cannot, if I have 500 applications, I cannot open 500 cover letters and read them line by line, right? I'll never get to the right process ever in that sense. So for me, as a recruiter, I know a lot of you have heard different versions. I know that. I would say this will change your chances to a great degree. Try this. I know you have tried already a lot of things. Try this and see what happens. Because this way you will make sure that you're standing out, because believe me, not many people know this and they don't do this. So then it makes the job easier for the recruiter. And that's where you said, right? Make it easy for the recruiter to see what you've done. It's the same thing. How many of you have a profile here? Or as I call it, elevator pitch? You have? Yeah? Awesome.
You made this summary in the first of the CV.
Yeah. Good. I like that some of you have already done it. We will definitely go through it in the next workshop as well, how to completely write it. But what I would say is an elevator pitch is something that, as a definition, if you meet someone in an elevator, how will you present yourself? What will you say? What are the correct words that you will bring out?
How many lines should be?
I would say 3 lines max.
It's not possible.
Yes, it is. It is. I will show you. That's exactly what we have to learn, right? This is what I'm saying. You know, when someone is a salesperson, have you seen field salespersons? When they knock on your door and they're like, they have 30 seconds to say something that will capture your attention. They are the best. They have a lot to say about the product. They have a lot to say about who they are, but they choose the correct things. And sometimes we always end up with a mop in a hand, which we didn't really need, right? So that is what I believe is an elevator pitch. I know it's not easy. I'm still working on mine after 6 years. I always end up saying too many things about myself. But the purpose of elevator pitch on the CV, because you're not going to say it out loud, right? You have time to hone it, to make it better. The purpose is to get you an interview. And that also tells a lot of, I think me too. My first CV was very bad. Christina is nodding here. And I'm sure everyone, it's not an overnight journey. It's never going to be. It has to be 1%, 10% improvements every day. Don't sit in a night like, I'm going to make the best CV in the world. It's not going to happen. You're going to be very disappointed. So don't do that. And at the same time, don't wait to apply for jobs until you have that perfect CV. I've done that. Like, oh, my CV is not just there yet. It's just a procrastination tactic, believe me. I'm a pro at that, so I know. So talking about profile, of course we don't have time to go through exactly how to write the elevator pitch. I'm going to include it in the next workshop. But I would really like you to visit YouTube, because that's where I got my training of elevator pitches. You can find so much material on YouTube on how to deliver a resume elevator pitch. very specific ones. But what I include in my profile is not my name, because a lot of people in their profile write, "Hi, I am Nupur," and you don't need to do that because your name is right there on the profile, right, on the CV. So you don't need to do that. You don't need to say, "Hi, I am this." Just say, I'm a XYZ professional. So I'm a recruiter with 6 years of experience in the tech space, and I am looking to grow in my career by applying for the senior technical, talent acquisition manager. And for me, it is important to work with a team, and now I want to go into the managerial position. That is what I will write. I will write my motive very clearly, and then let them do the job of reading the CV. I will not try to, with my experience of 6 years, with this experience, no. Your CV is just right under, so you don't need to write all of that. As a CV is not one size fit all for everyone, it's also not a one size fit the job. So I will disappoint you with that answer. Again, my tactic, I don't customize it for the jobs that I don't really care about, but I always customize my CV to the jobs I feel like if I get this, that's it. That way you can also prioritize your job applications. You can say, these jobs, because we don't always apply for amazing jobs, we just apply for everything, right? But you can categorize them and say, these jobs are very important for me. I want them. These jobs, if I get them, good. And these I don't really care about. I would say the ones you don't care about, just remove them. You will not be happy in the job anyway. I really feel that if you specify your profile a little bit, you don't have to change it completely. Just a few words here and there. Believe me, it will not take as much time, and it will be so worth it. So it might take maybe 2 minutes, but those 2 minutes, you're gonna see the results. Good. If we move on to the layout of the CV, I think layout for me, apart from the profile, I think profile, if you have to prioritize these things, profile will come secondary. The layout will come on the top. Why? Because I will show you a few examples very soon. A layout being clutter-free and having the right information first, and just being one page is really important. And a lot of recruiters will say it's okay with 2 pages, and it is okay. Nothing is off the charts, but with 1 page, it's like an overview of your career life for me as a recruiter. Yes. And it's possible. I will definitely get there. I think Christina agrees it's possible. But it takes some time, it takes some thinking, and it will not happen overnight. Why it should be clutter-free is if I'm trying to find, okay, I have a list of requirements on the side that you need to have XYZ tools, experience of that. If I have a CV with just really plain text, I will have to search everywhere to find whether this person has those experiences that I'm requiring, right? So that's important to be clutter-free. It's very, very easy to read. We don't spend more than 30 seconds on a CV, so you will find even that people spend 2 seconds. That's probably not true, but 30 seconds is what I'll say. And then we just scan. We cannot read the whole thing. But that is not to say that you should make spelling mistakes and hope that it will be overlooked, obviously. But very important to be clutter-free. Latest information first, because I need to know when was your last time and what did you do in that. Because the latest experience is what you draw from the most. If I was working in a company 10 years back, I basically would draw from that experience, and then it might be outdated, but it's okay. I just need to know when was it the last time. And one page long. And punctuation is the third building block, I would say. There is a really good app I think you might know, Grammarly. Really good. Use it. It's for academics. It's for daily writing, even invitations, anything you write, it will really make a difference in your writing. Okay? And always get your CV and cover letters read by your friends, colleagues. No, not colleagues, because, that won't go very well. But friends and family. So they can give their input as to how you should write. Good. Okay, now we come to the burning question, what do recruiters look for? First thing we look for is your professional story. You remember I said that you should make it your own personality. What we are doing essentially when we look at the CV and now also LinkedIn profiles, because you always put a link on the CV, we are looking for your professional story, and it's your chance to show the recruiter that you have been building the skills to apply for this job. Right? Simple, we know that. We are also looking for red flags. So what are red flags? We are looking for someone who, it could be long breaks. It could be short periods of work in different companies and different jobs. So for example, someone's worked in McDonald's and now wants to apply for supply chain management. That is a red flag, but that not necessarily means you cannot have it. Everyone has it. Everyone has parts of their CV where they feel like, oh, okay, this could be an issue. But what we also look for, is there an explanation? Have you put an explanation for why? And if we have a good explanation for why, it's fine to have that. For example, someone who's worked in in McDonald's, KFC, or someone who's worked maybe even as a cleaner, we like when they explain how they can take the skills from that job and apply it to the job that they're applying for. And Sweden is a really good country in that sense that people want to know the why. If you have the correct why and the correct reasons, that suffices for you to get an interview. But that needs to be a really strong, good reason. So, generally in a CV, we write a job title, we write a company, and we write a ton of things that we did there. Correct? Yeah. We just write, I was just doing this, exactly what you told me, what you were doing. Put it on the stomach and think about it, if you can write what you learned from that job instead. Because everyone knows what an HR administrator does, sort of. If you're applying for that job, we would know what an HR administrator does or what a recruiter does, right? If I tomorrow want to apply for an account development, account management role, which is a sales role essentially, but I've never done sales, I will not write what I did in recruitment. What I do, what I tell people to do is to take a very creative approach to their CV and say what they learned from each job. It's not very conventional, and I know a few of you might be very uncomfortable doing that, but you can always try. Of course, I know that all of you are from different fields, so unfortunately I can't give you like each field examples, but when and it's also applicable for graduates, that when you don't have enough experience in the field you want to go, or when you have just, when you've studied your masters, you have worked hard, how do you present yourself? I would say write down each work experience. For example, this will be easier. So, I want to apply for a sales role. what do I do in my recruitment? I meet people every day. What else do I do? I take interviews. Yeah. I do a lot of admin. A lot, believe me. And I sell the position and company to the right candidates. Sorry for I always wanted to do this. But I meet people, and sales will require me to meet people, right? I do interviews. Say in sales, I will actually have meetings a lot with a lot of clients. I know how to talk to people, to different types of people, and that's what I require. I do a lot of admin. You'll probably need to do that in sales as well. You'll have to be structured, you'll have to be organized, and make sure where are you in the process of the sales pipeline, correct? And I sell the positions and the company. It's not very different from selling a product. Because believe me, I'm in the tech world, and if you know anything about selling a position to software developers, it's so hard. They are sitting with 10 contracts, every day. So I need to sell that. So do you see that connection now, that I can actually turn this around and I say, from my experience of meeting people, making sure that everything is organized and having a sales pitch ready in my role as a recruiter will also enable me to do the sales work or account development. Do you see that? Also, I can tell you that you can absolutely apply for HR jobs. Believe me. I know you might not have luck yet, but it's about how you present. Freelancing, so we live in a country, in Sweden, where people choose to have different types of employment, right? There are contractors, there are consultants. In our team in Volvo, for example, I'm a consultant, but I work for Volvo, or someone who owns their own company, but they do the same job, but they choose to come that way. So how you do your job, whether it's freelancing or actually working in a corporate environment, should not deter you from selling yourself in the way I just explained. It might come to a factor that, okay, teamwork, what about that? Yeah, that could be a pain point. Do you have a team? No, but what you work with is a lot of teamwork, right? Even if you're freelancing, your creative field, you're talking to people, gathering requirements, you're delivering on your deadlines. That's teamwork. You don't have to have a team of your own, okay, right? So it's all about just sit with yourself. Don't doubt yourself. I know that comes. Don't doubt yourself. Sit and write down what have you done in your career, whatever it is. Don't judge yourselves beforehand is my biggest advice to you. I know it happens, but just try. Write down what you have done, and write down what do you require for this job, and just build a bridge. That's what I would tell you. Okay? Perfect. Okay, no, that came too quick. We have to go to skills. So how many of you include skills with in your CV? Almost everyone, I guess. What do you think when you're writing those skills? Do you just write a bunch of skills required for that job? You actually write skills which you're good at. Skills, I would say, I always use the power of 3. You would hate me for this, but power of 3, because anything in a 3, it has an impact. Okay, whether it's a lot of bullet points on under your experiences, if you have like 10, it will not make impact. Instead, try writing 3 bullet points with very crisp information that would definitely make an impact. And that's a way to also shorten your CV. That's a way to fit your CV in one page. but you need to be very sure what to write in those 3 bullet points. So you don't need to tell me all your story in the CV. That's what interviews are for. That's why we interview people, right? Okay, you mentioned here that you've worked with this project. Can you tell me more? I know it's a very nice thing to explain what you have done in the project, but that's not required in a CV. Think about it as a movie trailer. Think about it. It's just literally 30 seconds of just enough information for you to get that interview. If you, when you're trying to watch a movie, you see the trailer and you're like, oh, this will be good. It's the same analogy. It's the same thing. So try to get that interview. CV is not meant to tell, because what will you say in your interview? You've used up your trump cards, right? So think of it like that. Don't have to provide every single detail, every single information. You have the access to the job description. Look at the job description, what are they looking for? And then customize your CV to match that. Exactly, like that's what recruiters do, right? They sit with the job description with the must-haves. The same thing. You do the same thing, just the other way around. So skills, I would say, what are they asking for in the job description? For example, if I'm recruiting for a business intelligence specialist, they need something called Power BI as a tool. They need Tableau, and they might need data analytics experience. That's the only thing I will look for. Okay, so you don't need to tell me that you know Word. Outlook. You need to know that anyway, So if something is obvious to you, it's obvious to the recruiter. So think about it. Skills, look at the job description and make sure what is required. And if you have that, put it in the bullet list. Okay? Okay. And the last thing we look for is number and hard fact. What I mean by this, don't take it too seriously in the sense that, I have to put every line I have to put a number. No. If you have worked in a field where there are no numbers or KPIs to fulfill, it's okay. For example, sales, you can say, I have sold for $1 billion. It's a very big number and it makes an impact. But if you're in, say, HR, I had a very hard time thinking about numbers, but I instead said, what about hard facts? So a fact that when I was working in my previous company, there were 30 people, and now there are 120. That's a good hard fact. I'm not saying I did all the recruitment, but I was a part of building that company from 30 to 120. That's a hard fact. And it's an impressive fact, which a recruiter will think, okay, that's in 1 year, if that happened, that's a great thing. So don't be too harsh on yourself that it has to be a very unachievable goal. So don't try to impress in a false way. Use what you have, put it there. If it comes, great. If not, that's how it's a gamble at the end of the day. If the recruiters believe you, they'll reach out to you regardless, right? But if you put Power BI and you're maybe 20% skilled, you have to tell that hey, I have used it, I know it, but I'm not that skilled, but I have a short learning curve. But we will get there when the interview situation comes. Next workshops, right? Good. Let's go on to a few examples and then I will end my session. So I've put a little snipping shots of different CVs together. I want you to know what you think about it and criticize it. And then I will go through my reflections as well. So if we start from this one, it's a mission statement. And it says, if some of you can't read, I'm an ambitious and curious person with a mission to help others realize their true potential. I believe in empowering teams and that an organization is made by humans I aspire to be the driving force in the organization that I'm part of. Please go ahead and criticize this. Or what do you think about it? Yeah?
I'm inspired.
Oh, nice. Good. Yeah. Good. Yes, it is quite fluffy. You can add this in addition if you want to add a mission. You can add this in addition to your profile, right? For example, this is nothing to do with the profile, right? Mission is when you are trying to add a little bit of personality to your CV. And this CV says that that person is ambitious, that person is curious, but it does not always have to reflect the experience that they have had, but yes, it could be made more crisp, for sure. So, for example, it could be, I'm an ambitious and curious person. Instead of saying, help others realize their true potential, they can mention how to do that, or how they do that, because you can help others and realize their full potential in different ways. You can treat them as doctors, so it can be anything. So that's a way to make it crisp. Empowering teams, yeah, it's an organization is made by humans, yes, but what about it? What do you mean? What's the next? So you don't have to always say, in my experience, but by doing this. Just examples of how will just make it really a lot better than what it is already good, as Diana said, but it could be much better, right? Okay, if we go here, what do you think about that? Can I say this? It's not bad. That's why I say don't wait till your CV is perfect to apply, because this is clear. It's clutter free. I've seen CVs where this is on top of each other, and the format is clear, which is what matters. But it's too many things. It's too many core competencies, because when you say core competency, it's if I reflect, I have not more than 4 or 5 core competency, because for me it's like a really good skills that I have, right? You can have a lot of skills, but you can be only, hopefully, unless you're superhuman, good at 5 or 6, which you master. So this is too many, in my opinion. And as you said, Diana, categorizing helps, because application programming and working with clients. What do you mean by working with clients? Everyone in that role works with clients. What's the meaning of that? So if you think some of these things are in your CV, take them out. It's not needed. Everyone works with clients, Debugging, application programming, and maybe software analysis and design I would choose from this, depending on the job role that they are asking for. Okay, if we go up there. Should I read it?
Yes.
Yeah. Skilled teacher with 5 years of teaching at elementary and middle school levels, well versed in developing and implementing core curricula, provided safe learning environment that fostered growth for students of students both academically and emotionally. Optimize student performance by promoting goal-oriented activities and encouraging critical thinking. Always, instead of writing a job description under your experiences that serves no purpose, instead of saying, in this role I interviewed people, or you can say, my, people skills were improved. You know what I mean? But in a profile, this is really good profile. I like it, because it tells what they did, but it does not really tell me what they want now. Okay, they did this. What do they want now? So it's incomplete. It's an incomplete profile. They can shorten this and make it a little bit more about, I have done this, I've been a teacher. We can see in the CV you have been a teacher, and with this experience or with this skills that I've learned, this is what I want from this job. That way it will be a little bit more complete, and you would not feel like, oh, what am I missing here, So it will be more complete. Okay, last one. This is an example of a CV I found. What do you think about it?
Hard to read.
Hard to read? Overwhelming?
Yeah.
And it's centered. It hurts me, It hurts me that it's a centered CV.
How would it stand out then?
It would, but it would not in a nice way. I mean, you can try that risk. Yes, it would stand out, but it would not be. It will be very overwhelming, because this is just look at this. Achievements, fine, but work experience. What do you understand there? Nothing. It doesn't give you where they worked. Okay, assistant manager, meat department. Of where? What meat department? So. Very bad. Please don't center your CVs, please. Okay, what do you think? Okay, now it's just a big giveaway whose CV that is, but what do you think of the other one? I don't know if you see it, but it's just like a presentation of the edge.
I know whose CV it is.
It's mine. But it's not the best, so don't think you can't criticize, definitely. But I've tried to, minimize the clutter over there. And does it feel a little more soothing comparatively to you? Yeah, I know it's not the whole CV, but my whole CV looks like that, sort of. But the point I want to make here, feels less overwhelming when you present your data in a structured, uncluttered manner, basically. Cool. What is next? Oh, one more. I had one more. There you go. There you have two big CVs. What do you think? Which one would you prefer? The left one?
The right one.
Yes. So, do you see that this was actually the core competency CV that I took? I actually like the structure in this. I really like the structure in this, but that is more color pop.
Attractive.
That's more attractive. So what you really need to essentially achieve is a mix between these two. Right. Sorry?
Again, you have to think.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. But this is a really nice, I don't like that it's developed this. It's like a list of things that you've done. No, because you can do that again. And this is how a conventional CV should be, so don't take my word for everything. But if you really want to stand out, try writing, you developed a skill, if possible. Not everywhere, but somewhere. For example, again, back to selling a position and the company. I have developed resilience through this, and that will allow me to do the sales job much better next time. So that's a skill that is required in a lot of positions, resilience. But no one writes that. I've never seen resilience on a CV, but that's very important to have. So what I'm trying to essentially say is be creative. Go outside of the box. Try to think free without any boxes, and then try to fit it in your space and structure that conventional CVs need to be fitted into. So when it comes to describing what you have done, what you have learned, feel free, check with your colleagues. Even if it's okay to show your near colleagues. You can check with your family, friends who are maybe linguistically, better than you, if you feel that. Do that. That will help you a lot to improve. It's just like, I don't know if you've written, for universities, you've written a statement of purpose. It's exactly like that. Get it read by a lot of people. It will help a lot. But also have your own thought process, because too many opinions can confuse. So what I've done in my CV is I've taken the most relevant work experiences And then I have a little box where it says additional experiences. And then I just say what I've worked with, where, and what timeline. That's it. You should not follow any of these. Make your own CV. You should not follow any CV. What I'm saying is that has more color. So it's sort of, for the eyes, it pops, right? This is a little too plain, but it has good structure. So take the good out of every CV that you see and leave the bad. That's what my whole point was from this one.
Right, so Nupur has covered the CV. I'm not an expert in CV, I can tell you that from the beginning, so all questions to her. But what I think I'm much more experienced is cover letter. As I said in the introduction, I have written a lot of cover letters, not just for myself, but I helped others to write their cover letters. And for different purposes as well. So as I said, educational purposes, project, some of them even project funding, and job applications, what we are here all for. So when it comes to cover letter, I would say, unlike CV, this is not something that is take or break. This is, in my opinion, more like a bonus to your application. So say you have an amazing experience, you did your job, you wrote an amazing CV, everything is great there, Nupur has hired you. Or like she's about to click the button. But very often, you know, as we talk today, there are like some small red flags, there are some maybe gap years, maybe inconsistency in your jobs, you know, you did accounting, then you do marketing, like you said, for example, you want to do HR right now. And this is something where you can really explain things and make it shine through your cover letter. And a lot of people I know for sure do not attach their cover letters because they think that their CV is great and like says everything there. I would recommend you to attach a cover letter irrespective, because if nothing else, it will definitely strengthen your application. And later on, I will also explain what else can a cover letter do that CV can't. So how many of you, I want to ask first before going to the next slide, think that recruiters actually care about cover letters? Raise your hands. Quite a lot of people. And I did my homework as well. I did not know, but turns out that this is sometimes take or break. So this research is done, or like this study is done by one of the recruiting companies. And as you see, recruiters do bother reading cover letters when they go through job applications. Majority of them do. And these cover letters actually influence their decision about hiring, or like at least approaching someone. So don't disregard cover letters, makes a difference. So now I'm going to go through why do you need a cover letter. And I mean, there are a lot of answers to that question, and some of them kind of go in parallel with your CV. But here I focus specifically on when it comes to cover letter, what matters there in comparison to your CV. So first of all, your cover letter can really demonstrate the way you communicate. So it's possible but quite difficult to do in your CV, where, like as Nupur said previously, you have to be really concise, you have to really put all the information in 2 words, sometimes in 1 word. But cover letter gives you one whole A4 page where you can actually write the way you think, and you can use writing style you like. So this is actually a way for you to demonstrate how you communicate. And some of you may say, well, I will not need communication so much at that job, at least not in the writing style, for example. But all of you for sure will write an email, at least once in your career life. And that's one way of showing that you can actually, you know how to write, you know grammar, you know punctuation, you can, you can use enter, you know how to use Microsoft Word. That's like a start. Another thing is cover letter shows your motivation, and this, in my opinion, is the biggest bonus of your cover letter. We talked about motivation in the profile section of the CV, but since it is so short, you don't have an opportunity and a space in your CV to write so much, while you can actually dedicate the whole paragraph of your cover letter just to write in your motivation. You can explain it the way you want, write different sentences. It's up to you. The cover letter is not a hard science. Then what I really like about cover letter and what I try really to do in my cover letters is to express my own personality. I tried to do it better in CVs. I'm still learning. There is some part of your personality in your CV, maybe like some hobby. The jobs you chosen as well shows your personality, obviously. But in the cover letter, it's much more free-flowing. It makes, it feels much more natural to write a sentence that, I have this passion for, working in the environment, for example, like I did, I still do. And these skills will help me at this job, for example, but I'm also super motivated to learn those skills. So all of that you can write in your cover letter. And another thing is cover letter also expands and explains a CV, what I just talked about. So it explains things that are not explained in your CV, but it also expands your CV. So here I have gathered up some things, or the most important things in my opinion, that you can include in your cover letter. I was thinking initially to write you should include, but I don't think it's a good way of doing that. As I said, it's not a hard science. And these things that you can take, for example, 2 or 3 things from here and focus on them in your cover letter. You don't have to take all of them. So, for example, what skills have you learned so far? That's a very good thing to write in your CV as well, but in your cover letter you can be much more descriptive of your skills. So, for example, at these positions, this allowed me to learn, once again, I want to repeat, you don't repeat your job description, not your tasks, but you learned communication skills. I think you're great with people right now. So something more personal, something focused on skills. Another thing is motivation, of course. That's what cover letter is for initially. And focus on this specific job. So why this specific job? Why you have motivation for this specific position? Another thing is, I think a lot of people omit. I've seen a lot of cover letters, and a lot of people don't include that. They just talk about position. I think it's good also to talk about the company or an organization, because, say you are looking at a job in marketing. There are lots of them, even in Gothenburg, alone. Why do you want to work in this specific company? Do your research. Let the recruiter know that you actually know something about the company. Again, it will not break your cover letter. They will not be I don't think they know anything about the company. They do not do the research. They don't know, our latest reports or something. No, but it definitely will strengthen your cover letter. If you can show with one sentence, not much, that, okay, for example, this company, I want to work because you've done this, or you have a great team of this kind of professionals, and I think I would grow the most here. Another thing is, why are you a good fit for a job? So, my partner likes to say, basically the hiring process itself is like a dating, first date. It's not just about, how should I put it? Not just about them knowing that you are super great, but also your motivation to get the job. But you also need to kind of sell yourself, because it's 2 people basically, a hiring manager and an applicant, and you're both trying to find each other in the middle. So don't think about your cover letter or like in general the hiring process is something that like I have to show that I'm the best. Think about it. Maybe they don't deserve you. It's not necessarily like that. I mean, shouldn't say that ever, of course. But you need to sell yourself. You should be like, oh, by the way, so think about what is something that does you the best at the job that they are applying for. So this is your part, essentially. That's your good fit for a job. Also, one thing to include, which relates to the previous point, is what do you know about the industry? Marketing, accounting, HR, I don't know, it can be whatever. Include some points if it's relevant, of course. What is there maybe in the industry that you already know about? It doesn't have to be like, so I know that, I don't know, there are 5,100 employees around Sweden working in this position. Like, I've done my job at the union. I've looked, like, there are so many people. This is not like exactly the information they're looking for. But for example, say my job has more to do with international environment cooperation. So cooperation when it comes to environment between countries and regions. So I would probably say like, oh, I think, I want to, like, I was curious about this job and I think that would be very fitting because there is a gap in, in environmental regulations in Sweden or in that country, and I want to focus on that. So basically you're creating a problem and you're solving a problem. Then what skills do you want to learn? As I said before, dating, you come there, you're showing yourself, you show all your skills, but then you also want to get something from the job. I mean, like, when I would apply for a job, I would think, obviously I want to get paid. Like, that's a great thing. But also, I want to learn, for example, about international development management, or I want to learn organizational skills, or I want to learn that. Also, I think a great thing to put in your cover letter, because this all really shows you that it's not just you're desperate to get the job, like I will do everything, but it also shows that you want to also grow in the company. You don't want to just, come there, get the money, go. Come there, get the money, go. You also want to like develop something about yourself. At least in Sweden, in my opinion, it's a bonus if you can identify something that you can learn. I think like it would be weird if I would focus on something that I can learn, and this is the qualifier for a job. So for example, you like say, you need to know this marketing tool. And you're like, well, this is the job I'm going to learn it at. So, and this is like the main qualifier for a job. No, but think about some other skills, mainly communicative skills. Like, I think I need to develop them. Don't write, I don't have them. Like, I think I need to maybe get more expertise or public speaking, something like that. So something that is not critical for this job, basically, but something that you can develop. And the last thing is, what are your professional goals in general? So where you want to be, like, don't write that thing maybe like, I want to be in 5 years this, because like you will talk about it at the interview. But it can be very closely connected to the skills you want to learn. So you, for example, can say that I see myself developing in the sphere of blah, 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 blah. So, and make sure that the company can accommodate it. So you're not like, okay, but like, we don't have that at the company. Like, why are they applying here? Like, they cannot fulfill their professional goals here. Make sure it's like all relevant. So now a little bit about the style. And by style, I mean your writing style and in general style of your cover letter. So including punctuation, including visuals, layout, and things like that. So this first thing, I think a lot of people like have questions about, I would say. So address a hiring manager by name. Very often in your job applications, there is no name. And here there are also two things. If there are no name, I will do my best to try to research the name. I will go on LinkedIn. I will try to find someone, maybe like the director of the department, maybe someone else. I mean, ideally the hiring manager or recruiter. Okay, they don't have this information. Honestly, I would rather write dear hiring manager. I know that some people say, oh, it's horrible, but just, or like write hello or something. Basically, it's a letter, so you want to open the letter somehow. I don't know. I would not be like, oh, we did not, because I mean, they also aware very often that they didn't put any contact in the job description. So they would be probably aware that you don't know the person you would like to address the letter to. And in Sweden, as you know, it's all first names. So don't write Mr. Write dear Clara, for example, or dear someone. You can also write name and surname. It's fine as well, but like dear, not like hey. Hey in Swedish is okay. Hi in English is like, yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. So make it short and content rich. Same thing as CV. Put only relevant information. It's, again, you don't have to put every single thing that you've done. My first cover letter was 3 pages, 8 font, 8. It's the first cover letter I've ever written in my life. And I thought it was very concise. Like, I thought that's the best I could do. And I mean, obviously...
Did you save it?
I have it, yes.
Do you go back and look and, oh my god?
I do, yeah. And that was my cover letter when I was 22, when I did not have any professional experience. So like I was like, I need to write something, and I like wrote everything that happened in my life, basically. Yeah, but don't do that. I mean, yeah, it's not relevant, as recruiters don't have time. I mean, if they made an effort, they looked at your CV and they're like, okay, we're gonna go further step, and we'll look at your cover letter. Then they definitely want to read something interesting, something very relevant. Next one is preserve a good visual structure, paragraphs and alignment. That thing, I mean, again, not a deal breaker, but it is definitely a very big plus. I mean, the number of paragraphs that you've written, are they kind of similar in size, like number of like lines in them? You know, sometimes you have like one alignment, so to the right, sometimes like we've seen before in the middle, the worst one. I mean, I don't know, I don't think anyone does to the left side. But you know what I mean, like make sure that this is all, I mean, ideally like a square, pretty much. Or like at least for you it's to the right, like that. So, and that the amount of paragraphs is sort of, you know, like 5, I would say 6. So you don't have, for example, one sentence which is whole paragraph. It's not going to be obviously a deal breaker. Another one will look at it and be like, I don't think I can hire someone like that. I mean, that's a terrible mistake. No, but it's something that you, like, this is something that you see even before reading. Then 1-page rule, same thing as with CV. Some job applications say, well, okay, maximum 2 pages. But again, I think 1 page is a kind of rule for everything, for a lot of other things. Keep it 1 page because it's very visual, it's very easy to print. You don't have to print so many things. I mean, some people print CVs or cover letters. Try to keep it to 1 page. I mean, no one will have the patience to read more than 1 page probably. Probably not even half of your cover letter. Then keep the language professional but not too formal. So what I mean here is that when you write your cover letter, this is not a scientific thesis. You don't have to use, you know, very difficult words specifically for that purpose. But you also cannot write very informal. So, you know, like you have to basically write the way that you would write, like, I don't know what example can I make, but something that you know that it sounds professional, but it's not overly difficult to read. Like, so the person who reads that can easily understand it. So no like jargons and things like that. Then throw some keywords. Some companies have this, artificial intelligence tool, which they will just scan your. I mean, I don't know how many companies have that, but I know for sure that some do that. Or the simplest thing, I mean, like someone can just take in Adobe, they can take Find and then just scan like that. They do it more for the CVs, as far as I know, but they definitely can do it for a cover letter. So this is like my advice, but this is definitely not something super important that you have keywords from the job description. And have a good ending. I have an ending that I've been using since 3 years. I really like it. It fits my profile really well. My ending has more to do with my personal development, so the way I want to develop personally, and then this company fits me really well. And I usually write, "Thank you for considering my application" in the end, because I think it sounds pretty good. It's quite neutral, and you cannot do wrong with that. Are there any questions at this point?
I have a question about the language. Should it be in Swedish?
If the job description is in Swedish, I think the CV and the cover letter should be in Swedish.
The documents are in Swedish. So
Yeah, I mean, I think like if all the other things are more or less fulfilled, like you look at the job description and like, yeah, I think I'm a good fit, but Swedish,
Yeah.
I would definitely apply.
Yes.
Because, I mean, Swedish is something that you will learn, especially if it's more or less international company or organization. Language is sometimes the easiest part for some people. For some people, the most difficult part, of course. But yeah, don't feel discouraged from applying. Like, if you don't have, if you're not sure, as Christina and Nupur said, maybe make a call and just ask. But maybe like after applying, I would do that after applying, because they already have your profile. Basically, they can click on you. They can click on you and look at you. I had an interview, and they replied to me that we will proceed with other candidates, and I replied and I said, okay, but would it be okay if I arrange a call with you and I want to ask how can I improve? And they were so nice. The manager of the department had a call with me, and they were like, okay, I think you need to improve on that, that, and that. If you would like to get a job in this field, not in the company, because they cannot tell you that, they cannot promise you something. But they were very willing to just give me a feedback. So sometimes I think it's specifically when you had an interview. Sometimes I would maybe write even if I didn't have an interview, but mostly after an interview, I would write that, can you give me some feedback, or maybe can I have a call with you? If you have time, of course. So don't be like, I want to talk to you. Like, I want to talk to you in person. But honestly, I think it shows your willingness to go an extra step. So they will remember you as well. If they had a call with you, it's a huge thing for a lot of hiring managers or just managers to have a call with something. They will definitely remember you. So you can do it different ways. The way I like to do that, I write first, please accept this letter as part of my application. And sometimes I even write, for example, I found this job here, and I thought that my professional qualification would really fit the description. I would write more specific, but this is pretty much the first paragraph. Then I usually go with my skills, paragraph about my skills, so a bit more connected to my professional and academic experience. And again, I try to focus on skills, so not of what I have done. The thing is, sometimes skills and what I have done is similar. So if, say, I have organizational skills, well, I organize a couple of events. So it's kind of similar to each other, can sound very similar. And then my next paragraph goes about my motivation. Sometimes I divide them into write about the position, the motivation for the position, and then about this organization specifically. And then I have like a paragraph which says, basically I summarize my qualifications and say, I think, for example, that my experience or my skills in this, this, and this would allow me to have a quicker exposure to the tasks of this job or something like that. And then I finish up with an ending, which is basically what we just discussed. Some people write it chronologically. I don't really like chronological way of writing it because it becomes too like, I don't know, too much like a CV where you already have it chronologically. Okay, let's go next. So now I want to talk a little bit about don'ts. And these are things that I think are the most important not to include or not to do in your cover letter. So one thing we've talked about already is don't repeat your CV. They can find if you compare your CV and your cover letter, and you see that okay, this information is already present in my CV, exclude that or rephrase it in a different way. Then don't write long sentences. I'm very guilty of that. In my native language, we do that a lot. We have very, very long sentences, like just by nature of it, because it allows for it. And I tried to do that in the beginning with English as well. And then my English-speaking friends would be like, I'm like lost. What did you want to say in the beginning? Like, you know, sometimes you're like having this, and this, and having experience in this would allow me to blah, blah, blah. And I mean, you have like 4 lines already, pretty much. It's maybe okay to have it like as a profile because that's where you want to have like one sentence. But for a cover letter, I would not do that. I would try to be like as short as possible. As said, exclude irrelevant information. Think about how a recruiter looks at your cover letter, the same way as they look at the CV. They don't want to read something, or like they don't want to find something that is irrelevant. It's great that you did volunteering 10 years ago in Uganda. Is it relevant for this specific role? If you're like, okay, but I don't have any other things I've done that is cool, but then focus on the skills you learned that are relevant to this position. If you are looking at it and you imagine yourself a recruiter and you think, why are they writing it here? I mean, great that they've done that, great. But why is it relevant? How is it relevant for the position? Avoid grammatical mistakes. Very important. I mean, mistakes happen. I often don't see mistakes after a while. When you've read your CV or cover letter like 100 times, you might just not, like I've sent CV like maybe a couple of months ago, and I actually included perform on top as volunteering experience, and I wrote perform off top. Oh. And I mean, like, you know, I've noticed it later, but I mean, I've sent it. This is something that you just don't see. Like you develop complete blindness after a while. So basically try to avoid it by using Grammarly or giving your CV or cover letter to read to someone. And the last point is don't sell yourself short and also don't brag too much. Does anyone, like, can someone give me an example of what it is in Sweden? Which word would you use here? Exactly. It's very difficult balance in my opinion, and I'm still trying to learn how to do that because you want to be pushing, you want to say that I'm really great, I can do this, this, and this, but also like you want to kind of make yourself a little bit modest. So you can do that like the way I do it. I talk about things I want to still learn, something that I think I can develop in. It doesn't make it a weakness. You're not 80. So most of us are not, I guess, here. I think none of us. Yeah, so it will not be weird if you have some weaknesses. And I mean, even when you're 80, it's totally fine if you want to develop something. And this is like a selling point, and this is something that you show that you want to have some challenges in life, and this, in my opinion, is kind of being a bit modest about yourself. Are there any questions here? And some general tips. Sometimes I have trouble, when I want to totally restructure my cover letter, I have trouble coming up with something that I want to write about. Sometimes just have no motivation to write a cover letter, ironically. So I try to think about a structure first, like we just talked a little bit earlier. Okay, what do I say in the first paragraph? What do I say in the next one? Even if you will eventually restructure it later, it will still give you a good starting point. So you will be like, okay, I'm going to write about this here, about that here. And this will help you get out of that situation where you just don't know what to write about. So you're just completely blank. One more thing that is more content-wise relates to think about your personality, something about you, maybe some hobby, some passion of yours that you think would make you very good for this job. So it can be very different things. For example, I used to for the current job I have, I talked about my volunteering experience in my home country, which was really short, actually. It was maybe 6 months, relatively short. But I thought it would be interesting to include because it was an environmental organization, the one I was volunteering at. And I thought this might be kind of the connection I would have with the job I'm applying for. So try to find kind of this, missing point if you don't have it immediately lying in front of you. Sometimes I had an interview and I said actually at the interview that if you will not, I'm not sure whether it was a good thing to say or not, but I said it anyway. I was like, I really like your organization and I would be willing to volunteer at it as well, even if I don't get the job. So, it can be viewed as something not good because they will be like, well, free labor, get in. I didn't get a job with the organization, but I think it also shows that you're very, very interested in working there. Then I always add a contact information in my cover letter as well, and I make sure it's clickable. I make sure that the links are the right ones, the ones that you click on. So you need to update them sometimes because some websites, they decide to change their domain or something, and they will not be clickable, because it will be a different website, for example. So I include my email, I include my phone, and I always include my LinkedIn, because I view that I want to make sure that it's as easy as possible for a recruiter to find more information about me or to contact me. And we've talked about it previously, but always give someone to read your CV and cover letter. Mistakes, things don't add up. Sometimes you read it and well, everything's clear for sure. And then you give it to someone and they're like, but why did you write about it here? And you're like, but isn't it clear? No, for a person who doesn't know you, who are not you, it's not clear. Some things that can be very clear for you are not clear for other people. And the last thing is use the job description that you have, or the vacancy, to guide you through your cover letter. So pretty much trying to build in the puzzle, trying to find this, what do they require from the position, what are their necessary qualifications, what are the merits they have, how do I fit in? So don't write cover letter just based on your motivation. I want that and I want to be there. Try to look at the job description and see, okay, I fit in here or I fit in there based on the job description. So now I wanted to do a similar exercise, the one that Nupur did. But I would choose, since I'm not going to go through many cover letters, it's too long. I just chosen some sentences from cover letters that I think you could tell me, do you think they're good? Are they bad? And additionally, I want you to go one step further and tell me what you would like to do with them to make them better, if they're not good. Does everyone see it? So it says, as part of my previous job, I was responsible for budgeting, filing taxes, and preparing financial reports. Do you think it's a good sentence, bad sentence, so-so?
You should be in the CV.
Okay, what would you change here to make it better? In my opinion, this belongs to the CV. If I would redo it, I would maybe write the experience of financial, reporting helped me to get this, and these skills. Honestly, sometimes it's kind of playing with words. I mean, sometimes you just need to come up with a better structure, but basically try to focus on your skills and not on things you've done. So this is a sentence from my first cover letter. You got it? It's one sentence. Yeah. Did you? What? Can someone tell me what I wanted to say here?
That you want to work here?
No, pretty much. Yeah, I had to really dig in my emails from 2015 to find that cover letter. And then when I was reading through that, I was like, poor people who was reading that. That was an application for a scholarship. Because, I mean, this is a mess. I could still talk about it, even now, but I would probably just cut sentences and just reduce the amount of words. I mean, like, why did I have to write a lot to a desire to gain a deeper knowledge? Well, at that point it made sense because, like, I just graduated. So in my opinion, that was my only experience in life that I studied. I never worked at that time. So, and I also wanted to have, similar what you said, kind of a personal thing that it's like it was with me from my childhood. What I really like to do is you have great skills and all, and you can still say, maybe not with the years, but with experience part. But then don't write perfect candidate, because I mean, what is a perfect what is the perfect candidate? Like, a perfectly sized person, like a perfectly skilled person. What is it? For me, it's like this would allow me to contribute to doing this at your company. So you like take all of your skills that are relevant, and you're like, I'm coming with these, and this is what I'm going to give you to make this better. Like in your company. I love the word contribute. Like I always use that to make a connection between my skills and a position. I always use contribute because contribute basically means that you take something that you have and you use that to achieve something different. So I mean, this is it for my part.